Yeah, we're going to be talking about the character of a creator tonight, and this is I say every class is important, and I say we're going to cover a lot today, and I do that every single time. But today, I think is really especially important because it's something that you're not going to get from non-Christian sources. You're not going to get from your average, how to be a successful streamer thing, because everything in here is counterintuitive to quote unquote success, right? It actually makes your life more difficult. It makes things more time consuming. But it's also the thing that if you don't get right, will utterly destroy your ministry, your channel, your life. We're going to talk about basically your relationship with your audience is based on trust. Therefore, your integrity is your most important precious resource. So you have to guard that. Everything you do on stream, you might think, well, I don't, they don't trust me. I'm just like there to entertain, or I'm there to be interesting, or whatever. They come and go. But the truth is, if they've come to you and they are coming back to your stream, the reason is because you have given them something, right? You've given them some kind of reason for them to be on your stream, whether it be because they appreciate you, your content, your timing, your whatever, your vibe. And because they came one time and they liked it, they're coming the second time because they have expectations that it will be just as good, comforting, whatever, positive, helpful, informative as it was last time. That's a building of trust. Your impression on them was good, but now as you continue on, it is a trust relationship. That's why it frustrates me so much when I hear someone talk about themselves being a Christian content creator, and then they only stream when they feel like it, or they keep missing their streams, or they have no, communication with their community. What they've done is they've gone out into the world and they've said, "Hey, I'm here for you." Right? I'm a Christian content creator. Maybe they've even had one of those moments where someone comes in and they get to really kind of share their heart and be able to connect to this person, and that person feels as though they built a relationship. They have an affinity now with that streamer. Well, they come back the next time, the next week, and at the same time that next week, they're not there, right? And they don't know why. Then they go, okay, things happen. Next week they come back and they're not there. And you find out that this person goes, well, when I was on stream with them, or when I was talking to them and they were streaming, they were saying how they care about me. They were saying how they want me in their community. They were saying how, they're here to build and they're here to love, and yet they're nowhere to be found. So they don't think it's just like, oh, that's a bummer. I don't like that. What they think is you can't trust Christian streamers. You can't trust that person. They were using me for content. All the things that I was saying to them and all the heart that I was sharing with them, they were just using me. That's why it didn't matter to them, and that's why they feel like they can drop me. We have a critical relationship. Christian streamers are more than just a parasocial relationship. That term basically means like where you have somebody on the other side of the camera or the other side of the media, and they feel as though they know the celebrity, or they know the person on the other side, on camera, or whoever's making the content. They feel like they're their friend. They feel like they understand them. Like if they were to meet in public, they'd be like, "Oh, I totally get you, and you totally get me." They have this sort of they're not in the same location. It's para, as in it's cross. It's a cross of society relationship. And I mean, it can get really toxic. And we've all heard about that, like stalkers trying to, make Taylor Swift love them, or kind of crazy stuff like that. For us, we have to see what we do as being more than a parasocial relationship. If we're really trying to create a community, and we're really trying to share faith, and we're really trying to share our life, and we really want people to grow and change and find hope and all the positive things we want to do, then we have to give part of ourselves. We have to invest in that person. We have to risk. We have to have some kind of relationship with them and build a level of trust with them that goes beyond merely, I'll entertain you, or I'm here to be interesting, or I'm here to answer questions. You have to go deep if you're going to be an effective Christian content creator, which is why no matter how big you get, no matter how gifted you are, no matter how talented you are, as soon as your integrity is gone, all of your work goes with it. It is, if you don't watch your character, if you break that trust, everything you built is gone. And there's a few examples of this, right? You've got Mark Driscoll, who is I liked him. He was he was coming up, when I was coming up, cool guy. I thought he was great. Really liked listening to his preaching. Turned out he was just a big jerk and just really horrible to be around. And he was like borderline abusive, if not abusive, to his leadership team. Turns out he was dipping his fingers into the money somehow. It was a whole bad thing. He had built the Acts 21 network, which was a church network, and connected to his church was like 20 others. So he'd preach a sermon, it would go to like 20 different churches. Within like 2 weeks, 90% of those churches were closed. He gone. Because of his moral failing, because of his loss of integrity, everybody who had been built on him or built their relationship to the church through him was gone. Same thing, Ravi Zacharias, right? Ravi Zacharias lived his whole life. We thought he was great. We thought he was a cool apologist guy, super soft-spoken, really smart. Turns out he was just like the worst. He was manipulating women. He was using God's name to be able to get them to do sexual things with him. He was just like the worst. And what happened to him afterwards is he was already dead. And despite how many years he'd been in service, and despite how many ways he had helped people, he actually, they pulled all of his books, right off the shelves. Bookstores, gone. His legacy, all of his work, gone because of a moral failing, because he lost integrity. Same thing, Bill Hybels. Same thing, Bill Cosby, right? Bill Cosby, Family Guy, super funny, really, really interesting. I grew up listening to his albums. I really like Bill Cosby. And then all of a sudden it's found out that he's just like, he's bad. He's a bad guy. Well, what happened then was his show, The Cosby Show, they deleted it, man. They deleted it from everywhere. Nobody wanted to see it anymore. No one wanted to touch The Cosby Show. It was, and that didn't just affect him, of course, right? It spiderwebs out. It's the same thing with us, right? Everything we touched, everything we've had our little finger in, every pie it gets affected when we lose our integrity, right? It's not just you and your audience. It's you and your audience and everybody who put their trust in you, and all the people, your mods. All of a sudden they're wondering, didn't you know this person was like that? Why were you moderating for them? And then it goes out to the audience. You watch that person? Like how did you not know that they were? And then it goes out to their family, and then in their life, like even in their relationship with other streamers, their relationship with the church, relationship with other Christians. Now you're in the back of their head, and you're making it harder for every other Christian because of your moral failing. It is not just you. That stuff you do in the dark, that stuff you do when nobody's looking, the stuff that you post anonymously or whatever, it doesn't just stay there. It's not just you and it. It spreads, man. It can destroy. Christian content creators, why is it, do you think, that we have so many opportunities to serve, right? The fields are white for harvest. 3 billion gamers in the world, very few Christian content creators, very few purposeful one for sure. Why is the field white for harvest, but there's so few workers, right? Is it possible that the reason is because most of those who would be called into content creation, the ones who have the gift, the ones who have the desire, the ones who have the ability, their hearts are not prepared. They can't hear God's call. They can't follow God's will not because they're not able to stream, not because they're not interesting, not because they're not smart. No, it's because they can't hear God. Because of their integrity, because of their character, they are disqualified. So God either doesn't call them, or because of their habits, they don't hear him. So therefore they don't feel called. Could it possibly be that maybe there are some who really do want to do some stuff, but they're not being called, or they're not rising up to the occasion because they're spending too much time talking about and thinking about their character, trying to do too much time talking about their skills and their abilities rather than their character development. That, I believe, is a big part of it. If you, this is the baseball diamond of life development. The Psalm 78:72 says, so he shepherded them according to the integrity of his heart and guided them by the skillfulness of his hands. Both are important. You need to have skills. Like my whole thing here was broken, and it's like I need to be able to fix that thing. We got to do it quickly. It's got to happen. You need to have skills. You need to be able to do whatever it is that you do on stream or online, or the content that you create or draw, or whatever it is. But it's not enough if you're in Christian content creation. It is enough maybe if you are trying to be secular, like you can kind of get away with some stuff. But even then, secular people, as soon as their integrity falls apart, right? Even they get canceled. We've seen millions of people get canceled already, regardless of what they were doing, regardless of how skilled they were. All of a sudden, they're just done. You can't be in that movie anymore. You can't be on that podcast anymore. No, we're not going to read your books anymore. Your website's gone, right? So for us, when it comes to how to develop yourself as a disciple maker, a Christian content creator that is effective, able to listen to God, and protecting yourself and your community and your home and your families and your relationships from that fallout from a lack of integrity, it's got to start with spiritual formation first. The assumption is, if I can get great tech and I can develop my skills and I can become amazing at, then God can use me and he'll start helping me spiritually, and he'll start doing, we'll be able to do some awesome stuff together because I really worked hard to learn how to play the guitar. I really worked hard to, figure out this game, or to be interesting and entertaining, or to write well. And therefore God's going to choose me because I worked so hard on that skill. It's actually that's not true at all. If you remember the beginning of 1 Corinthians, when Paul is talking to the Corinthian church, he's reminding them that, you weren't called because you were so skilled and so wise and so important and so well connected and so rich. That's it. You were foolish, and you were weak, and you were inept, and you were called because of your weakness. Jesus became strength for you. That was the idea, right? Therefore, embrace the fact that you are weak, that you are in need, that you don't have what is necessary to save yourself or to serve in this world and understand God. You're dependent on Jesus. Then once you've got that part put together, then we can talk about what you do in this world. Then we can talk about the strategic formation of your organization and your life, and how you're going to be effective, most effective. Then we can get you into a fully developed, self-replicating disciple maker. But it has to start with your spiritual formation. What does that mean? It basically means like your relationship to the Bible, your relationship to God, your relationship to the church, and your relationship to the world, right? Those four things. What is your relationship to God's word? Are you in it? Do you study it? Do you know it? Do you love it? Do you connect with it? Is it something that's part of your daily life? Is it something that pervades your thoughts? What's your relationship with God? Do you spend time with him? Do you listen to him? Do you respect what he says? Do you deny yourself in favor of whatever he says? Right? Your relationship to the church, when it comes to the global body of the church, like what is your thought about them? This is the bride of Christ. How do you think about them? How do you talk to them? How do you serve them? Or is it that you don't like them and you talk bad about his bride because you were frustrated with them? And your relationship to the world, right? Are you in love with the world? Are you avoiding the world and running away from it? Are you locking yourself in your little eggshell and not talking to them? Or are you trying to be as much like them as possible while skirting the edge of Christianity? Like, where are you at? The spiritual formation is the discipline that you have in connected to your relationship with those four things. And so therefore, if any of those is missing, that's going to be where you're in trouble. That's going to be where you fail. So I have a question for you. And you feel free to give feedback or talk about any of this, but the question I have here is, who in your life has demonstrated consistently good character, integrity, and trustworthiness? Like when you think of the person that has doing this right, who's a solid person, who in your life has demonstrated that? Or feel free to ask a question or talk about what we just talked about. Those people are a grounding influence for us, because especially for our side, the people who are on Twitch, people who are, Twitch people, content creator people who spend a lot of time in their room, there's a reason that we're here. There's mental health issues, there is relationship, issues, there's abuse issues, there's learning disabilities, there is, anti-institutionalism because you've been hurt by the church or somewhere else. Like there's a reason that we're here. And there's a reason why the people who are on the other side of the camera from you are there. And usually they are not as healed as you are, right? The reason you're on is because you've been through some healing. The reason you're speaking and you have the confidence to talk about, your life or to stand in front of people and risk, getting trolled or whatever, is because you've reached a certain level of health. A lot of them don't. A lot of the people out there, they really feel very messed up and very scared and very worried and very valueless. Nobody cares about them. So your integrity becomes a a, a foundation for them, like a stabilizing influence for them. They find that one person that they can go, you know what? That's what I wish all of humanity was like. That is a caring person. That's what I wish my mom was like, my dad was like. I wish my brother and sister were like that. I wish my teachers were like that. That person, it becomes a grounding influence. And as they see you and as you have demonstrate your integrity, they'll give more of themselves and they will attach more little of their ropes to you because of your position in their life. We love people like pastors and community people and politicians and whatever, that we can go, that's a person of integrity, man. We can trust when they talk, because it feels like in this world it's hard to find those people. So yay for them. How difficult is it then on the when you have found out that person that you put so much hope in, that you called your sort of your model for integrity, falls apart, right? And now you might be thinking, you know what, I'm not a pastor, I'm not an author, I'm not whatever, I'm not this person that has influence over so many people. But if you're a Christian content creator, you have influence over people, and therefore it's critical that you understand they are attaching themselves to you. You are a stabilizing influence to them, and therefore they're trusting you to be able to stay that way. Let's keep going here. So we're going to talk a little bit about the character qualities every Christian creator should have. And really, so it's like, okay, so I need to have integrity and I need to have good character. What does that look like? What is, practically speaking, how do I develop good character? How do I know if I have good character? How do I keep integrity? What keeps me on the straight and narrow? That's what we're going to talk about. So the question, or the first thing here, is a content creator that God uses has a great purpose in life. The understanding that you have been put on earth for a reason, and the understanding that you have been given a task to do and a gift to do it, is sort of this universal accountability partner, right? Because you know that you're there. You know that you have purpose. If you don't do it, then you are not only not obeying God, but the thing that you're built for, you're not doing. You're harming your legacy. You're harming the future. You're harming whoever you're supposed to be helping. You get it, because you know who you are and you know who God has created you to be. And therefore, it's this accountability structure that's kind of built into your life. If you don't know your life's purpose, if you have no idea who you are, don't think you're valuable, don't think any of your choices matter, don't think any of your actions affect anybody, then why would your character matter? If you think about the people that are just, they're falling, their lives are falling apart, or they fall into addiction, or they're drugs, weed, alcohol, whatever. Part of the reason is because they don't feel like their life has value, that their life has a purpose, their life has a reason to exist. Therefore, they want to push down those feelings of guilt and shame that they should be here for a reason. So they drink, they try to mute that voice, or entertainment, they just nonstop entertain, they just consume. The life purpose that you have is going to be the thing that, especially if it's a godly life purpose, is going to be the thing that makes you reevaluate what you're doing every single day. It's the reason you get up in the morning and why you do what you do. So we're not here to talk about the theory of character development. I wrote this note for myself. We're talking about you. Do you know your God-given purpose, right? I try to emphasize the fact that when I do these classes, I really don't want to talk about theory stuff, right? I don't want this to simply be, you get a bunch of knowledge and you hear a bunch of things that are interesting and then you move on with your life and it makes no effect. I really want you to think about this stuff, because I believe that you have the amazing potential to change the world. You can change lives. You can be used of God to affect this world in a way that nobody else can. There's so few of us, and there's so few good versions of us, and there's so few purposeful versions of us, that if you get it right, you're gonna change lives. right? So I want you to get it right, and I want you to be good, and I want you to go for the long haul. I was a pastor for a long time, and I guess I still am, but I know many pastors who have had to quit because either they lost their integrity and they were booted, or because they couldn't handle it anymore and they moved on. In fact, the statistic is that for every 10 graduates of seminary, only one will actually retire a pastor. 9 will won't make it all the way through. And it's because of integrity issues or because of call issues or whatever it is. I don't want that for you. I don't want you to be the flame out person. So we're going to talk about this and take it seriously. So to discover your life's purpose, ask yourself these questions. So like, what am I here for? Here's how you find out. Number 1, what are your burdens? That basically means what makes you cry, what makes you angry, what when you see it happen or you hear about it happening, just it builds some kind of emotion or some kind of frustration inside you. When you see somebody working on that or you see somebody getting a victory in that, you get excited about it. What are your burdens? Like that, what's the thing that really makes you angry? Number 2, pardon me. What are your spiritual gifts? What has God given you to do? Right? What do you have that God has said, in my world, in my church, you are especially gifted for this? What are your spiritual gifts? What is he decided you're here for? What are your natural talents? As you're growing in this world and as you're moving through this world, what do you just find you're good at? Whether, drawing or art or music or being encouraging or talking, writing, whatever it is. What are your natural talents? What are your desires and passions? This one is different than your burdens. This is basically, what do you want, right? When you think, this is what I want from the world, and this is where I'm going to put my energy, and this is what I want to, this is what gets me hot and bothered, and this is what gets me excited, and this is what I want to put my money into, and this is what I'm going to spend my time on. What are your desires and passions? What do others affirm about you? This is a big one. If you want to know what your life's purpose is, listen, you have to be around other people. All this stuff happens around other people. And so the thing that they keep saying, yeah, wow, you're really good at that. Or yeah, when you do that, that really works well. Or I see this in you. That's probably a big part of understanding who God created you to be. Even if you can't see it, somebody else is seeing it. What are your dreams and visions? Which is basically when you look to the future and that idyllic future that you've created, the utopia that you have designed, what does it look like? Right? What do you want the world to look like, your community to look like, your family to look like, your church to look like, your stream to look like, your what do you want when you put it out there, what do you want to happen on the other end? What are your dreams and visions? And what opportunities are right in front of you? Because all this stuff is theoretical unless you're actually finding a way to put it to use. If you're not looking for opportunities and you don't really care, there's a good chance that the rest of the questions haven't been answered. Right? Because we all, whatever our burden is and whatever our gifts are, I promise you there's somebody out there that we can connect to that needs us, right? So I'm not going to ask you specifically what your burdens are, what your gifts are, the rest of that stuff. I really want you to think about it. But I think it's really critical for you to when you step on stream or when you get into your content, you sit down to draw something, you start writing that song, that it's focused. It is. The reason that you're doing that is because God has created you to do that. The reason God has given you the opportunity, you are excited about it. If you don't do it, something bad's going to happen, right? It's a moral imperative for you. You're excited about the potential of whatever you're releasing or whatever you're saying or whatever you're doing. It's out there. Like, yes, I get to do something and it's magical. It's awesome. There's lots of people who feel about this about a lot of things. Moms think about this and dads think about this with their kids. I love having, I can't wait to see what they're going to be. And I'm going to invest in them and I want to make sure that they are cared for and loved and nurtured and so they can go and do the thing. And I want to see what God does. We do that too with whatever we're putting out there, and we can do it for ourselves. So I'm going to keep saying that, but I really want you to think about this kind of stuff because it's going to help be an accountability partner for you and focus what you're doing. What comments? Do you have any comments to that or questions about this before I move to the next slide? Okay, let's keep going. The content creator that God uses has removed hindrances from life. Hebrews 12:1 says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us." This comes right after Hebrews 11, which is the Hall of Faith. It's just a list of names of people that had big faith, Old Testament name, big faith. And so therefore, in light of all these people, in light of how God works in lives, in light of that God follows through, let us look into our lives at the things that are like keeping us from moving forward, that are actually making our lives more difficult, and kick them off, knock them out, and be able to walk forward and live in this life with more efficiency, effectiveness, and not stuck to this world. You kind of recognize that the world is like really mucky. And so when you're walking through the muck, it's catching on your shoes, and eventually your shoes feel heavy. I don't know if you ever walked through like a field of muck or whatever, but eventually like half the field is coming along with you, and you have to stop and knock all that stuff off, or you're not going to be able to move anymore. So the question is, in your life, what are the things that are holding you back? Right? What are the things that are clinging to you that are actually an anchor to your soul, an anchor to your hope, that are actually causing you to be less efficient with life, to not be able to follow God's will properly, to be less able to relate, to be less, whatever the fruits of the Spirit, like less, patient, less kind, less loving, less joyful, less self-controlled. What is it? Right? Character can be defined as self-leadership. Right? Really, it comes down to, like when I wake up in the morning, I wake up in the morning at a certain time because I told myself to wake up in the morning at that time. When I go to bed at night, it's because I told myself to go to bed at night. Right? When I put something in my mouth, it's because I told myself that's what I should put in my mouth. When I don't react in anger, when I choose to, change what I'm going to read, whatever it is, it's because I chose to do that. Character really can be defined as self-leadership. The thing is, in this world, nature abhors a vacuum, and therefore, if you're not leading yourself, other influences will lead you, right? Your passions, your desires, your, other people, your parents' priorities, whatever your issues are all going to steer your ship. So therefore, if you can say, no, I lead myself, this is the choices that I make are mine, and I can choose to make better choices, you will develop character. So the very guilty question that I have here, that nobody will ever answer with, yeah, I'm great, is if you were your own employee, what performance review would you give yourself? Like if you were the employee of your life, and you were the boss looking at how you were running your life, what performance review would you give? Right? And really, it comes down to, for example, it comes down to attitude, right? If you had an employee that you walked over to and you're like, okay, you never show up on time, like ever, like you really struggle with time management, and the employee turned at you and said, I agree with that. I do not care. I will not change. That is who I am. Right? As an employer, you'd be like, well, then you can't work here no more because I need you to show up on time. So or for that matter, you're wasting resources. You consistently spend on things we don't need. You're consistently in debt. You're consistently running towards this negative balance, and it's really affecting the business that is me. I need you to stop doing that. If you say, well, no, I need that stuff. All those things I need, and it makes me feel better, right? So what would your review be? It would be, don't do that no more, or you're going to be in trouble. That's what self-leadership, that's what I'm talking about. Yes, none of us are going to give ourselves a great review because nobody knows how awful we are as much as we do. Although, ironically, we also don't know how awful we are because we're really easy to lying to ourselves about how great we are. But I think it's a valid exercise to say, in what areas are you not practicing self-leadership, right? Because if you're removing the hindrances, like, for example, time management's a great one. If you want to be an effective content creator, you want to actually be able to show up and change lives online. It means you need to be consistent. Number one, most important thing you're going to hear in every single how to get successful online video is you have to be consistent. Release regularly, show up regularly, have a consistent quality or an improving consistency in your quality. You have to be there. So therefore, if you have this hindrance, that is, you don't know, keep track of your time, you don't know where you're going to be, you're always late for stuff, you never know when the meetings are coming, you're always forgetting things, then how are you going to be effective for the people you're trying to serve, right? It's a hindrance to you. It's stopping you. It's keeping you from being effective. Same thing with whatever your addiction is, or same thing with whatever your anger issues are. You're choosing not to work on those, right? Like I'm gonna just be angry like this forever, and I don't really care. Everybody's the worst. I'm mad, right? That's a hindrance. The lack of forgiveness is going to hold you back, and it's going to create an attitude in you and like a void in your soul, so that when you meet with these people online that you want to share love with, you've got this anchor that is unforgiveness holding you back. You've got people out there that you literally hate. What's going to happen when they come into your chat? What's going to happen when they trigger that issue, right? You're going to be a different person. Influence begins with trust. If people don't trust you, they won't follow or connect with what you do. We've talked about that already. If you want to influence people for the gospel, or for that matter, to buy the stuff you're selling, or to go to your website, or to hit the like button, whatever it is, it begins with trust. And if they don't trust you, no matter what you say, and no matter how good it is, they're not going to connect with it, because they will assume you're selling something. We all know that if we walk into a relationship and we have trust problems, and think about this, every time you go to buy a vehicle, or you go to buy something for somebody who runs on commission, right? I don't care how nice they are, or how personable they are. Always in the back of my mind is, they want my money. They want as much of my money as they can get, because that's their job, right? They're going to be friendly, and they're going to tell me that they're doing a good thing for me, and they're going to tell me this is the only day that they're able to do this, and this is they're going to go talk to the boss and convince them to do stuff. And I'm just going to sit there and think, they're lying. They're lying. They're lying. I know they're lying. Even if they're telling the truth, I still think they're lying, because the foundation of our relationship is based on distrust. That's you too. Everybody who's coming into your chat, if they're secular, they already have a massive problem with Christianity. They're got an issue with religious people. They got an issue with all kinds of stuff when it comes to Jesus. If you have Christians come into your stream, into your content, into your connect, where you are, wherever you're putting your content, there's a good chance that the ones online don't attend a church. They're angry with the church. They don't have a pastor. They don't submit to an elder. They don't talk to other believers. They're very angry with the church. So you, as soon as you say you're a Christian content creator, you start at a deficit of trust, right? You have to earn it. You have to be through, and you do that through consistency and showing that you don't have things in your life that are holding you back from being who God wants you to be, right? What character does for a content creator? Why is this important? If you work on your integrity and you have good character, it communicates credibility, right? As in, you're telling them that you follow through. Your consistency, your ability to show up, the way that your attitude is, how you use your money, how you relate to people, the what you're producing, all that stuff. When you have good character and you show consistency, and they understand who you are, and you're consistent in what that is, then you're teaching them, you will follow through. So when you say to them and you give them a promise, right? I'm going to do that thing for you. They think you will. They believe you will, right? For example, like let's just, money's an easy one, because everybody's a little wary with their money. You say to somebody on stream, right? There's somebody that I know who needs help, and I'd like to raise a bit of money for them so that we can help them. Please send me money. If you have consistent credibility, and you say, every sub that comes in today, I'm going to give to so-and-so, you're going to get more. They're going to give to you. They're going to just believe you're going to do it, because you built that credibility. However, if you have shown in the past that when you say something, you don't follow through, when you say something, it just doesn't happen, that it takes forever to do, or you forget about it consistently, even little stuff, right? You said you were going to play that game this week and you didn't. You said you were going to, contact this person and you didn't. You said you were, whatever it was, right? If you can show them they follow through, you can actually build a lot of You can do a lot more with your stream and your content. Character harnesses respect. I'm worthy of your time and attention. Right? If they respect you, then you're able to say, I want more of your time and I want more of your attention. Right? So they show up, at your stream, normal 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock or whatever it is. And when you say, listen, I'm going to do something special, or I'm going to be here at a different time, or I really need you to listen to this, or could you share this? Being a person of character means you're able to go, this is important. Let me leverage your time, the time of all the people who are listening to me. Please use your time for something that's important to me. And if that's true, if you built respect, you're going to be able to accomplish far more. However, if you have not built that respect, it's exactly the opposite. It's going to be, hey, can I have a little extra from you? And you're not going to get it. In fact, they're going to see you as manipulative because they don't respect you. You're just like, why do they want more of my time? What are they trying to sell now? Who are these people? Like, this person isn't someone I can just believe. But if you want to be able to help other people through your content, if you want to be able to say important stuff, this big thing is happening, we need to talk about this, people are going to listen. Number 3, character creates consistency. I'll be there for you. A lot of people who are listening, a lot of people who are streaming, live very lonely lives. Been a sense of abandonment. They don't feel like their community loves them. They don't feel like their family loves them. A lot of people are single. A lot of people are living alone. And your ability to look them in the eye and say, listen, I'm here for you. You might think the world doesn't like you. You might think the church doesn't like you. You might think your parents don't like you. You might think your job doesn't like you. The government doesn't like you. You might think the world is against you. But I want you to know one thing. You can trust that I'm here for you because I'm consistent. I show up and I'm there. I show up and I'm there. And then when you, contact me or text me or whatever, you can always count on the fact that I'm going to be able to connect back with you, right? I am consistent. And that person is able to go, okay, they're there for me. I believe that they'll be there for me, which means you can say something like, hey, I'd like to talk to you about this big issue in your life, or let's go a little bit deeper with this, or you should come join this, subgroup that I've created on Discord or whatever. They'll know you're not doing it to grow or for numbers or for whatever. They know because of your consistency that you care about them individually as a person, right? This works on a larger scale too. Like if you've got 1,000 people watching you, you can do this as well. It doesn't have to be just individual. Your consistency, your character, them looking at you, that means that when you are on, you will go, they'll come and they'll watch your stuff and they'll be like, I'll be here because I know that what I'm going to get. You think about it the same way. Like if you have, there's a reason everybody goes and watches that, whatever their favorite actor is, or favorite director is, or favorite game studio. They'll just go buy it sight unseen, or they'll just walk into the theater. The reason is because they know that consistency, they know what they're going to be getting, right? I know for a fact, if I go to a Tom Cruise movie, I'm probably going to like it. If I go to a movie that's got done by James Cameron, I'm probably going to like it, right? That's just the way it is. And because of that consistency, I know that it's going to be something that brings me value. Character earns trust. I'm worth partnering with. If you want to make this your job, or you want to be able to build finances through this, or get partnerships, or get sponsors, or do that kind of stuff, the only way it's going to work is if you end up engendering trust in them, and you're able to say, listen, you can believe in what I'm doing, so please partner with me, help me to continue to do it, right? If you don't have integrity, you can give every reason in the world why you need help and why you should be partnered with and what you're capable of. But if you don't have that trust, nobody's going to follow through. I know tons of streamers who flat out lie about having an organization and a ministry and a network or whatever, because I pressed on them. Like, oh, cool, you started a network. What's it called? Well, it doesn't really have a name yet. But okay, cool. How many people are in it? Well, like we have 4 people in my Discord, but it's got a name and a logo. Therefore, I'm the executive director of it. And I've got, you're lying, right? You're lying. You have lost my trust, and I'm not going to partner with you because you started the whole relationship with a lie. And so if you want to come and partner with Taco or partner with me or have me on your stream or whatever like that, and you start with a big fat lie or a big giant exaggeration, I'm going to go, no, I'm not going to partner with you, because your trustworthiness and lack of trustworthiness is going to rub off on me and the people that I'm trying to serve, right? So not going to happen. To build strong character, a content creator must develop personal discipline, which means you do hard things for good reasons. You understand that. I'm sure you do. You have to, that's the self-leadership. You have to develop a secure personal identity, or you're going to be easily manipulated. This is a big one. If you're going to have strong character, what does it look like? It means that you're not afraid to offend anybody. Like with doing good things, with being yourself, that being yourself is enough, that you actually believe that God created you this way, and that's a good thing, that your weaknesses are built into you and that God created those in you, and that's okay. That the people that, that when you stand on that word, or when you say the thing and you believe it as part of your personal convictions, that nobody can sway you. However, if you have an insecure personal identity, if you don't feel secure in yourself, you're not sure who you are, you're not sure if God really created you to be special, you're not sure if anybody's seeing all your weaknesses, you're not sure, you're going to be easily manipulated, because people are going to use that to change your mind. For example, you are on stream and you start doing this, whatever content, you're playing this game, an easy illustration, and you're playing the game. Somebody comes into your stream and goes, hey man, I hate this game, but I think you'd be really good at this game. A secure person, somebody who has a secure personal identity, can go, nope, that's not what I do. An insecure person will go, yeah, I'll give that a try. I'll see if I'll download that later, and I'm gonna see if I like it, because maybe you can come back later and maybe we can because they're worried that person's gonna leave. They're worried they're not going to get liked. In the same way, you got someone who they're doing their job, they're doing their stream, they change a little bit and they drop half their viewers. A secure person goes, well, I believe in what I'm doing, and I think this was the right move, and yeah, just get bump in the road and I'll keep trying hard. An insecure person panics and they go, what can I do? And they start doing stupid things like, I'm going to go eat the hottest thing, and I'm going to pour slime on my head, and I'm going to embarrass myself in whatever way I can, and I'm going to I'll stream for 700 hours because, I need, they will harm themselves. They will do whatever it takes because their identity was in that number. And now they are less of a person. People think less of them. People don't like them. I need to change myself then. That personal identity, if you don't have a secure one, that's what's going to manipulate you. Right? That's what salesmen prey on. That's what religious people prey on. That's what narcissists prey on your ability your fear of saying no. Develop personal convictions, values, and ethics, your rock solid rules of life. As Christians, we kind of grab this one. There are some solid rules that we have, obviously. But if you don't have these, as in you never come down anywhere. We know plenty of people who like, oh, I'm kind of both. I can see both sides, so I really don't make a decision. Yes, I understand that's important, but I also see the other side, and they're never able to come down and really put their foot down, right? So do you believe that God is the only God and that he's the only one we should be worshiping? Most people, Christians are like, yeah, right? But you're going to have people out there that are like, well, there's a lot of religions out there, so it's really hard to know who the real God is. I believe the Christian God is probably the right one, but if they don't have that conviction, that value, the ethics, the morality guiding them, well, they're going to be manipulated. They're going to compromise. They're going to hurt themselves and others. If you want strong character, you need those three things. First off, personal discipline, good self-leadership. Second, understand who you are and like who you are and be okay with who you are and who God created you to be. And third, stand by your personal convictions, values, and ethics regardless of what happens, right? That is a person of good character. Let me pause there again and just ask the question. Does anybody have anything they want to reflect on there? Or ask or anything? Content creator that God uses has placed themselves at God's disposal. Uh, Romans 12:1. I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. This is cool because the way that the New Testament works is that we have the Holy of Holies inside of us. What used to be that, inside the tabernacle, and you get killed if you walk in there on the wrong day, is it's in your heart. God, it inhabits you. You are a priest, which means what you do is holy, and wherever you are is holy. What you can do, no matter what it is, it can be an act of worship, which means you say to God, not just my Sundays, or not just, when I'm at temple, or not just when I'm, whatever. That's my spiritual act of worship. It's my life. Here, take my life. It's you get to do whatever you want with it. And what's cool about God is that he doesn't just go, okay, go live at church and cross your legs and pray all the time. And he goes, okay, I'm going to let you do things that bring you joy. I gave you this world, and it's just chock full of wonderful things. And I'm going to let you do things that bring you purpose and that only you can do. It's going to be awesome. Let's go. What stops you from experiencing that are the parts of your life that you told God he's not allowed to change, not allowed to affect, this far and no further. And everybody has them, right? God, I'll follow you no matter where you go, as long as you don't affect my health, as long as you don't take my family, as long as you don't make me move, as long as you don't make me poor, as long as you don't make me work with that person, as long as you don't remove the me from the situation that I'm in, as long as you don't make me forgive that person, whatever it is. You have this wall where you've said no to God, and that no to God is the thing that's going to cause real problems for you being able to say yes to him everywhere else, right? Because he's not actually your Lord. He's not your boss if you say no, right? And it's a lot easier to start saying no to other things when you feel like God's poking at that one thing. Like, oh, you're being mean. I told you you're not allowed to touch that. Therefore, I'm going to get huffy and stop doing all the other things too. Right? I'm not going to pray anymore. I'm not going to do the Bible and go to church anymore. You hurt my feelings, God, and you allowed someone else to hurt my feelings. That was the no-go. We had an agreement. So therefore, no more talking to me. And I'm not talking to you either. That sounds childish, but that's how people roll. And I think we've all probably experienced that too. There are three things that are going to hinder your ability to surrender to God when you create, right? So like, go back to the life hindered thing. Your channel or your content is part of this too, right? Or is it at God's disposal? Can God change it as he wills? Can God keep you consistent in it as he wills? Can God bring people into your life that you're supposed to partner with, even if you don't want to? Is he allowed to adapt your channel, your content, your whatever? Or is it that you've decided this is how it's going to be and this is who I am and that's what I'm good at, and anytime anything else happens, you're going to say no, right? And in order to do that, usually what you have to do is you pull yourself away from, good counsel from old people, wise people, people further down the line. You pull yourself out of community so nobody keeps telling you the same thing over and over and over. You pull yourself away from the word because every time you get into it, it seems to keep saying the same thing over and over and over, right? And you isolate yourself because you don't want to hear that whatever he's saying, because you know that it's something he wants you to change or that's something he wants you to do. I know for me, I told the story before, I started my content and it was just the normal, let's make everybody happy and meet everybody online and be a missionary. And when God went, nope, you're going to do the whole pastor, leader, training, teaching thing, it was like, yeah, but that's where I get hurt, right? When I step into ministry, it's scary because I've never been as hurt as I have from people who are in the church. And so therefore I'm opening myself up to that. As soon as I build the organization that is Taco, and all of a sudden I have a board and I have a team and whatnot, these are people I've given my part of my life to, if they could hurt me, just like the previous ones have, right? If I say no to God, no, I'm doing it myself and I don't want to deal with anybody else. There's no way I could do what I'm doing now. I have to say yes, and I have to take the risk. And I'm sure you have similar areas in your life where God has had to stretch you. God has had to push you. God has had to say, listen, I need you to let that go, or I need you to to give me permission, because that is actually a problem. It's an idol. It's an issue in your life, and it's causing problems. All right, we'll keep going. 3 things that will hinder your ability to surrender to God when you create. This is when you turn on stream, when you start writing, when you start making your song. 3 questions. What are you trying to prove? What do you have to lose? What are you trying to hide? Right? Then the first one, what are you trying to prove? Right? The insecurity or chips on your shoulder is going to drive your content and your conversation. So if you're there like, I represent all women, or if you're like, I represent all of this ethnic group, or I represent all Christians everywhere, or I represent people with this disability or whatever, like if that's who you are and you have this chip on your shoulder, that's your identity. And I need to prove the fact that everybody with this, whatever, is really good, then that's going to it's going to change your relationship with everybody. Right? Because anybody who pokes on that, and anybody who comes in that is part of that, you're going to have the us, you're going to have the them, you're going to have bitterness, you're going to have frustration. It's going to steer your content down a place where you're going to be angry about it, or you're going to be so pro it, you're going to change your opinions on stuff. Like it's going to be, if you're there trying to prove something, I'm here to prove my mom wrong because she told me that content creation is stupid. And so therefore I'm not going to. It's going to make you change your content. I'm going to show her because I'm going to be on here for 10 hours a day, and I'll show her how awesome it is. I'm going to make $1 million by the end of this year, and that'll teach her, right? If you got something to prove, it's going to change your conversation. It's going to change your content. It's going to leak its way in. What are you trying to prove? Right? And you really got to dig in on that question. Right? You really got to dig in. I'm trying to prove that I am not worthless. Right? So therefore, I'm going to do whatever I can in order to make people show me worth. I'm trying to prove that I am worthy of love. Right? People don't like me, and I don't feel like people like me. I need to find people that like me. I want people to tell me they care about me. Tell me that I'm a good person. Tell me that I'm worthy of attention, because nobody will give me attention. So I'll go online, and do you think that's going to drive your content? Of course it is, right? That insecurity is going to radically affect everything you do. What are you trying to prove? Number 2, what are you trying to lose? Fear will cause desperation and dumb decisions, right? If you have something in your life that you are afraid to lose, then whatever that is can be used to manipulate you, and you're going to be extra dumb in regards to, right? So the easy example is I have this, collectible thing in my house. My house is now on fire. That is the thing I do not want to lose. I will go risk my life to go get this thing, right? My life isn't worth whatever having this thing is. Your desperation, the thing that you are going to lose, is going to cause dumb decisions. We talked about, losing your audience, right? Well, I guess I have to compromise my integrity, and I guess I have to hurt myself, and I guess I have to make myself sick. That's the only way it can happen. Dumb decision, desperation, right? What do you have to lose? Well, if I say this, I'm going to offend some people. Or if the group that I'm part of, like the network that I'm part of, they don't believe this. Well, I just discovered that I believe something different. And if I say that, I'm going to lose my connection to them, which means I'm going to, then I better not say it. I better stay silent. I better, how am I going to do this? And all of a sudden you're anxious and you're frustrated and you're worried, and it alters and changes everything. Whatever you have to lose is going to cause dumb content decisions. Okay. And it's going to cause dumb life decisions. What are you trying to hide? Your sins will come out in your content. The way that people often think of sin is that whatever they're doing, it stays there, right? Well, if I yell at this one person, or this is the person I always abuse, or I only look at porn at night after 2 a.m. and nobody ever sees it and it doesn't affect anybody, or nobody will ever know about my credit card debt, and nobody will ever understand how messed up, and nobody will know that I wasted 17 hours yesterday just mainlining anime, and I chose not to do anything I was supposed to do. Nobody knows how much I hate my parents, and I refuse to, nobody knows. And it doesn't affect anybody. Doesn't affect my content, doesn't affect my relationships, doesn't affect my friendships, doesn't affect nobody. It's isolated. It's so not true. That is a lie. sin is like taking a drop of ink and dropping it in water, right? It doesn't just like stay as a drop isolated to itself on top. What it does is it just works its way through and changes the color of everything a little bit. So therefore, whatever you're trying to hide, whatever sin that's in your life, it's going to leak. When you get tired, that sin is going to come out. When if you're on stream and you get triggered by whatever it is, it's going to come out. Right? I've seen people on stream where they all of a sudden they start ragging on their mom hard because someone mentioned moms and they apparently don't like their mom, and all of a sudden they're just like rah, and like you were super cool 5 minutes ago, and now you've done a 10-minute rant on how much you hate your mom. You know, it's gonna come out. And the thing is, that sin that's leaking is leaking onto the people that you're trying to serve, right? Your anger, your lack of forgiveness, your desperation for money because you are, you're over your head, whatever it is, it's now affecting your audience. It's now affecting your content. It's now affecting their lives. That's what they're thinking of. That's what they remember. That's what they're going to work on. That's the picture they have of you now. It's so easy. We all know this, right? It's I think of the guy from Twilight, right? Robert Pattinson, right? He has been in like 50 other movies, right? And he's really good at acting, and he's like freaking Batman at one point. But you say his name, he's the sparkly vampire forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, right? That's what happens to your content when your sin leaks out. The thing you're trying to hide, the skeletons of your closet that come out, suddenly you're that. And you're going to be that forever, for a long time, because you ended up demonstrating that weakness, that lack of character. You got to deal with your sin. You got to deal with whatever you're trying to hide. What are you trying to prove? What are you trying to lose? And what are you trying to hide? Now that's the end of the content. That's the end of this session. Before I go anywhere and before we jump into the reviews, we got a few minutes here. Does anybody have anything they want to talk about, ask, or reflect on? Just for literally, it could be anything, not even inside the course. We're part of the course. Let me give a little bit of, I don't know, fatherly, pastorally, whatever, old people advice. Like if you had a kid, right? And out there was a big hole, and your kid every day, you put on his clothes and you put on his boots and you say, don't go in the hole. And your kid runs straight to the hole and falls in every time, right? You keep scraping them up, you keep them up, pull them out all the time. For whatever reason, they're magnetically attracted to this thing they shouldn't do, and they keep getting hurt, right? What do you do? What's your solution to helping your kid not fall in the hole? Exactly. You put a fence around it, right? You put something there to keep them out of the way. That's how it works for us too. If our self-leadership, talking to ourselves, doesn't work, we need a fence, right? We need something external that will force us, make us have that kind of accountability, right? Whether that is we give it to a person and we make them ask us, or we give that to a piece of technology and we say, this is an issue, or we set up a system by which we get punished for not doing the good thing, or rewarded for doing the good thing. You need an external system. For me, I have a phone, and it has alarms, and it has all kinds of stuff, because once I get zoned, the world is gone. Doesn't matter. And if the phone goes ding, the little calendar, ding, it's time to do something, I don't care. I need it to literally yell at me. It needs to sit there and scream for a solid 10 seconds. Then I'll fall out of my zone and I'll look at it, right? So for me, it's not, I know for a fact that if I put it in my calendar, there's equal chances I'm going to miss it. So I set an alarm as well, right? Because I know that's something I'm going to do. If whatever it is in your life that you have a hard time with self-leadership in, just go, okay, I'm going to put a fence around that. I'm going to make it so that I can't do that, right? For example, if you struggle with pornography, and you're like, man, I'm at home, I'm by myself, there's nobody here to stop me, whatever. You go, okay, I'm going to get someone to come over, change your router, lock out, the thing, use one of those, porn blocker things, and then give it to a friend and then have him leave with the code, right? Now it's like way harder for you to do that because he left with your router code and you can't get into your router and you don't know how to, it's an external wall to help you out as you can grow. Same thing like if you put your leg in a cast, right? You immobilize the leg while it's healing. Because if you just let it flop around, it's going to be a problem, right? Same thing. You need something to immobilize you in that way. Whatever it is, right? What you better. So the question is, are they a Christian? Right? That's one thing, because you can come at this completely different if they're a Christian or if they're not a Christian.
Yeah. They're definitely not.
You're dumb. Stop being dumb. But the other side of it is, how deep is your relationship with them? Right? Because your influence on them and what level of conviction you can bring is exactly related to how deep your relationship is. Right? So if you're good friends, they know you and they love you and they trust you and you're good friends, you can go deep and you can go hard. You can be like, okay, listen, dude, you got some massive chip on your shoulder and it's affecting everything and we hate it. Everybody's frustrated with it. Stop. But if you don't have that kind of relationship, right? If you're not that deep, then you either have to choose to overlook it. The Bible talks about overlook the sin, just let it go, right? Or you choose to step into it because you see they're damaging themselves. You see they're hurting themselves, their lives. And you walk in and you go, as someone who loves you, loves Jesus, loves people in general, I care about you. I need to tell you some truth. And I'm going to do it as gently and carefully and tactfully as possible. But I also want you to know this is important. And then let the chips fall where they may. Half the time they're going to tell you to get lost or, you don't understand. Or they're going to go, oh, I didn't know, and then it'll be better. But if you, there is a time, and we know this from Scripture as well, that when someone is just completely out to lunch, off their rocker, not listening, whatever. This is within the church too, the Matthew 18 kind of stuff. You just kind of go, there's nothing I can do. I think we as Christians have the obligation to try. You know what I mean? We have the obligation to try. Because we are peacemakers, we're reconcilers, we're ambassadors. So therefore, kind of our job is to kind of step in and go, well, this is kind of an issue where it comes up where I'm, this part of my job as an ambassador is to talk about this kind of stuff. But at the same time, if it's going nowhere, then it's absolutely valid to cut that relationship. Just kind of go, you know what? This is not healthy. And the only way they're going to learn, and that's what the end of Matthew 18 is. And the only way they're going to learn is if people walk away from them. Like you are clearly choosing demonic choices. Therefore, we're not going to let you have influence in our lives anymore. Right? And the hope is that shocks them into. So that's what I would say. Check your relationship. But I think we have the obligation to try. That's why I went on stream, and I love giving advice and all the rest of that stuff. I try to ask a lot more questions these days rather than just jumping in. I've definitely learned that. I used to have the instinct of just assuming I knew exactly what they were talking about after 10 words. I know the entire situation now. Let me pontificate for the next 20 minutes. And I've learned to ask a lot more questions. I think part of even that confrontation with them is to start with a lot of questions, right? Not just hey, I see this problem, but I've noticed this in you. Are you, why is this coming up so often? Is there something happening in your life? Are you super triggered? Is somebody hurting you? Do you have something that's going on? Are you physically okay? Are you emotionally okay? Do you feel like you've been abandoned? You've been hurt? Has something happened? Because if you can do that, you can frame the situation. Because, my boyfriend broke up with me after abusing me, and I finally put my trust in some dude, and I feel really upset, and I don't know how to function with that. Okay, well, we can frame the conversation now, and I can see that from a certain perspective, right? Because something happened. Okay, I can be a lot more forgiving, a lot more kind, a lot more generous with my time and my emotions. But at the same time, if they're like, no, nothing happened, this is just, I've decided to be angry from now on, it's different.